When we're stuck in a rut, we get that absolute tunnel vision. We start to do things and we process them and we do it in exactly the same way, and then we're surprised that we get exactly the same results. It's only when we open up our thinking, when we look at different ways of doing things, that it really stimulates the thinking, and it's suddenly things will drop into place. Results become different. And so when you think about what it's like to be part of a team, to me, there's one thing that just sits above everything else, and it's about trusting the members of your team. It's about, I saw this recently, I really liked it. Trust is made up of credibility and reliability. Well, to sit around any table, you've got to have those. Are you that go-to member of the team? But also intimacy. And I'm not talking on a dodgy level for any of those brains out there. But, how well do we know the members of our team? What makes them tick? What are people's strengths? What are people's weaknesses? But underpinning it always will be this, self-orientation. Are you that person that behaves selflessly, goes the extra mile when you've got nothing to gain? Because guess what? As soon as we see that in the team, the trust goes up and the performance goes up. When you watch somebody thinking, I can shine, the rest of the team can see it a mile off and the trust breaks. One of my first taskings came about 2 months into my tour when I was posted out onto Operation Telic out in Iraq. To help me, I was put to fly with a very experienced navigator called Ringo. The hierarchical gradient was a very interesting one in that jet because he's got about 8 years of flying under his belt, of flying the Tornado. I've got 2 months on the front line. And yet, I am the captain of the aircraft. He has not got a stick. He can't control the aeroplane from the back seat. If something happens to me, he's got one option. He would be ejecting. And yet these days, often in modern warfare, I will be dropping weapons from above 20,000 feet. I cannot see what I'm releasing my weapons on, but I'm doing so 100% on his say. I am trusting in him implicitly because I know I will be held accountable for my actions. So getting it right, think about it. You can't just say things and assume someone's going to act on them. Always make sure your communications are two-way. Now, in the run-up to the night I'm going to describe, the arterial routes between Baghdad and al-Basra had always been busy, often highlighted by missiles and shot at by the guns. But once we got down here into the Saudi Arabia border, nothing had ever happened. And suddenly, and without warning, Ringo just yelled, "Mandy, brake right!" I just instantly reacted. I slammed my throttles fully forward. I rolled very quickly to 120 degrees. I pulled very hard towards the ground, and he started pumping out these flares. These act as an incredibly hot decoy, a decoy to a surface-to-air missile that had been launched in a heat-seeking mode, locking on to the heat of my engines. It's all very well and good avoiding threats when we know about them, but I can guarantee you the ones that will bite you will always be those latent threats, threats that reside in any system or organisation that when you tie together with complacency, you are at your most vulnerable. But every single trip that we fly, we debrief it afterwards. We run through this debrief funnel. We ask the questions, what happened? What were the facts? Why did it happen? What's the cause? But most importantly of all, how? What's the cure? How can we be better? We've got away with the hierarchical gradient. We don't call people by sir. We call them by their formation position. Because we found that really empowered the junior team members to speak up, to challenge authority. I was halfway through running that debrief when the Commander-in-Chief happened to call up to the ops room. The clerk came through and said, "Ma'am, I've got the Commander-in-Chief on the phone." I looked at my boss and said, "Sir, do you want to take that?" He said, "No, I'm not the leader, you were." I went out, took the phone call, and he said, "I just wanted to clarify, it was a direct hit on target. We've had the evidence that's come in from the unmanned aerial vehicle Predator. You were the only formation, by the way, that went back over the border tonight. You were the only team that was successful." And I put the phone down. It was in that moment that my shoulders went back, and I realised, actually, we were part of the highly performing team. I made decisions that night that would affect the lives of other people, and I felt happy to do so. But what my boss bizarrely gave me that night, I think was the most outstanding example of leadership, a true role model. He trusted this junior team member to lead on a very normal night when the challenge and the complexity was quite low. The second that we got shot at, which was the first time a missile had been launched against us in 4 months, the complexity went through the roof. How tempting must it have been for him to say, "I have control, I'm taking the lead." But he didn't. He allowed me to continue. And in doing so, I grew more as a leader that night than I have on any other because I was truly empowered. He let me grow. And we can never tell people within our teams that they will be empowered. All we can ever do as leaders, as managers, is to create the right environment, give people the skills, the tools to grow. And that's how we get away from this hierarchical gradient. That's how we grow people right from grassroots up.